All right, everybody, welcome back. We're having a little bit of technical issues with the internet, but we are working on them in the background here as we are going to try and get our 8th and final round of Swiss underway here. We got Sam Kupperwitz versus Robert Litfin. I am joined by Wyatt Darby, and we're off to the races already. Robert Litfin starts off with a Soulscar Mage, and it's a pretty good start for him.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting matchup. The big problem from the mono-red side, I imagine, is just the creatures being turned into 5/5. So the fact that Rob's on the play can deploy multiple creatures, shock away the Bowmat Courier, means that there's really no threat of an Insult Artifact right now.
Yeah, so he's going to come crashing in there for 4, and Sam Kupperwitz under the gun already. He has Stone Coil Serpent for 2. And Litfin's got a lot of stuff. He's got a Stomp in hand. He's got quite a bit. He's going to stomp that one, crack in for 4 more. I think Sam's already down to 12. We'll get the life totals working for you guys here in just a second.
Yeah, just in a lot of ways a perfect start, but Sam has a ton of efficient spells, and here we actually see Insult Artifact being slapped on Bowmat.
Okay.
And yeah, Sam's actually still opting to race.
Wow.
Kind of interesting. He's starting from a bit of a life total deficit, but he's kind of outpacing the 2 damage return by quite a bit here.
Yeah. All right, so 2 comes, looks like another Stomp. Wow, this is going to be a 6er. So Sam going to go down to 6 actually here. And then Karizev, okay. I mean, there is lethal on the board basically here. So
yeah, any lands makes that Ramonap Ruins turn this attack into 7 total, which I think is enough clearance. And Sam has Shrapnel Blast in hand, but no clear line to piece together lethal this turn. I don't think.
So Darksteel Citadel, Litfin's at 12. All right. All right. So is that? All right. Let's see what we got here. So we got the deck list in front of us now. Looks like Skilled Animator there is the card for Sam, and Rob's going to go ahead and stick one of these Bone Crusher Giants. Another land. All right, well, again, Sam's just kind of hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah, it's tough. He's kind of dominating the ground, but still with not enough room to really get any attacks in.
All right, he's got another Insult Artifact in hand. So he can try and get through, but that's scary business here. Sam going to do some thinking here. Sam is the second ranked player on our leaderboard currently going into today, the start of today, and looks like he's going to make up some ground.
Yeah, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Sam won one of the 5Ks in our first month, or at least finished very high. So yeah, great start to the year, and because we are doing kind of leaderboards based on, at least partially by seasons, if Sam can top 8 2 events in the same season, that's a pretty excellent start.
Yeah. All right, and Robert Litfin again is one of our 2019 competitors, and he had a pretty good end to the year. He played like Boros Burn in August, and then he won with Hardened Scales in Pioneer, so he's no stranger to the Pioneer tables here.
Yeah, and here we saw Sam actually attacked, I believe, with both of his 5/5s.
Okay.
I don't think Rob blocked, and I think a Shrapnel Blast.
Shrapnel Blasted and crushed. All right, well, that's one way to win the game when you're behind is hope that happens. And so Litfin going to be down a game to start here. So interesting. I thought that was really good start for him, and just gets run down by the double Insult Artifact. So.
Yeah, when every artifact that you present is constantly a threat of a 5/5, I mean, if one slips through, the ground can kind of screech to a halt.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take a peek here at the sideboards. I'm looking at Robert Litfin's deck here. He's got 4 Scab Clan Berserker, 3 Red Cat Melee, 3 Mizium Mortars, 2 Chandra Torch Divines, and 3 Tormod's Crypts. Not in love with a lot of this stuff, and I don't even know that I bring most of this in. I mean,
yeah, honestly, none of the burn spells hit that magic 5 damage mark.
Yeah.
Tormod's Crypts has no text. Chandra doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Just the shuffle the 60 back, make some eye contact, just dominance.
Yeah.
It's tough, and I think actually it's Sam has a lot more room to improve, especially with these first 2 cards you see, the singleton copies of Aether Sphere, Harvester, and Shadow Spear, probably at their best against red aggro. Yeah. We also have 3 Metallic Rebuke, 4 Mystical Dispute, 2 Damping Sphere, 1 Lava Coil, 3 Aether Gust. So yeah, those Aether Gusts plus the lifelinking cards seems like a pretty robust package, especially if you're Sam. I suspect the Stummer Denials, the Dive Downs, those cards seemed a little bit medium. I don't mind being a bit more proactive, although he could kind of opt to set up like a protect the queen strategy, make a
Yeah.
single 5/5 and try and ride that to victory.
Yeah, I think I'm with like obviously the two top cards are great. The Gust and maybe even the Lava Coil is something he could go to if he's scared of like Rampaging Ferocidon and Torban. But I mean, yeah, I think Sam's actually really well equipped here for against Robert. But we watched Robert win a bunch of games. I mean, I mentioned he played Hardened Scales, picked up a W in our first Pioneer trial, I believe it was. And as you can see, yeah, November 2019, he was the trial winner, and that was in Iowa. I believe it was in Iowa. Can't remember it fully. But anyways, he won with Hardened Scales. So he's kind of a master with these more aggressive decks. He has an RPTQ 9th place finish. That's beats. That's the beats.
Exactly where you want it, right? He probably got a nice top 16 playmat, probably 16 to 32 boosters.
Oh, man.
Good day.
Big time. So I went over this with Joe earlier. His favorite Magic deck is Painter in Legacy. That is you've known your role as the heel if you're playing Painter in Legacy.
Yeah, I think that's you actually learn a lot about a person from his favorite Legacy deck, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially also seeing hoping for a Curd Ape reprint.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Curd Ape would be a nice Pioneer card.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah, Ikora Lara Behemoth is going to be interesting too, because it's going to be the first time. Well, it's going to be the second time now that we have Theros Beyond Death, but a set is going to slot right into Pioneer, and we saw the shakeup that this set has had on Pioneer. I mean, the two top decks didn't exist before Theros Beyond Death came out.
Yeah, and you could even say 3 with Aura making Sultai
Sure.
a thing. Yeah, so it was foundationally shaking up the format. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another combo spring out of it, or just, a marginal deck get better. All it takes is, one white card with 2 Devotion, and, and maybe Heliod's great.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I'm interested to see what how Ikora kind of builds on what we have now. It's been really nice to watch like these Theros Beyond Death cards. Everybody was like, well, this set's not very powerful. Well, you're wrong. It's like really powerful in the non-standard formats. It's been a huge shakeup across all the formats. Like, I mean, the Breach is in Legacy. I mean, it's all over the place. So.
Yeah, I think it's good to recalibrate expectations where Eldraine rather, Throne of Eldraine kind of overshot the mark a little bit. But if Theros is the new normal, I don't mind that so much. Powerful, splashy, but not necessarily... there's a pool of cards all offering different strategies that kind of play in different ways.
Sure.
And, as long as there's balance in the format, I don't mind a little bit more push stuff.
All right, looks like these guys taking a mulligan. So Sam's on 6. Robert looks like he might be on 5 cards.
Yeah, pretty reasonable hand of lands and spells, but I think importantly from Robert's side, I believe only 1 removal. So he's going to have a hard time fighting off. Sam has multiple equipment in his hand, and that's actually going to be pretty good just to make sure every creature's a threat, and Robert can only check that for so long.
Okay. So Robert going to lead off. Monastery So Spear again, good way to start. All right. Yeah, there's a Shadow Spear, there's Ensoul, but I don't know.
Oh, wow. Sam picked up Darksteel Citadel for the turn.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which is just the safe Ensoul.
Yeah.
If you put Shadow Spear on that as well, I actually cannot fathom a way that Red could really fight against that in a long game.
That's going to be good. A couple Shrapnel Blasts there for Sam as well. Yeah, he's in pretty good shape here. He's going to Ensoul the Ghostfire Blade.
Okay, kind of interesting. Sam deciding to take a little bit less secure of a 5/5, but the trade-off, of course, is you get to start the clock early, and with double Shrapnel Blast in your hand, I think it does make some sense to try and accelerate that process.
All right, I think Robert actually has Shock Lightning Strike.
Oh, no, that would just be...
I think those are his 2 cards, man. All right, so he's going to come attacking in for 3. If he had him, he probably would have launched him there.
Yeah, getting the prowess triggers seems worth it. I'm trying to parse out what that...
All right, here comes the Shadow Spear. And Robert's going to ping him due to that Eidolon of the Great Revel. Going to go to stick it on the Ghostfire, but yeah, he does have it.
Oh, he had it, yeah.
Okay.
The nice thing is, while Rob is going to be taking 4 from this, is he kind of got to bait Sam into sort of just wasting his turn. That Shadow Spear didn't do anything, and it's not bad. 3's chunking in. A second Eidolon actually makes any follow-up creature super punishing. I don't think there's any cards in Ensoul that doesn't trigger Eidolon besides a large hanger back, so maybe Rob's clawing his way back in. If there's a creature that gets cast that can't equip the Shadow Spear, I think Sam's dead. Just no creatures at all.
Yeah. It's pretty rough. Wow. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I thought he had the strike shock, and I kind of wondered why he didn't do it to pump a few more damage through on his Swift Spear, but makes sense. He's going to waste, Sam's entire turn, as you mentioned. And Sam's just on 2 lands, 2 Shrapnel Blasts, and that is not really where you want to be. Okay.
Was Sam
Did
at
he have
8 before he was? I can't tell if that was Sam saying, I wish I could cast these, but I'm conceding.
Yeah. I couldn't tell. We'll get confirmation. I'm pretty sure Litfin won that game. I'd be shocked if Sam somehow snuck a W in. He just showed him the 2 blasts. Okay. All right. So Robert Litfin going to even it up. Man, we're blazing through this round, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, I do appreciate that by Sam. If you're going to make your opponent remember their triggers, it's very easy to do. And I think that just kind of shows exactly how important every single point of damage is. That, if Sam's at 9, this matches are over in, quick 5 minutes.
Yeah, you mentioned the biggest point of that game was when the Ensoul Artifact went on the Ghostfire Blade rather than the Darksteel Citadel, as you mentioned, where Darksteel Citadel is basically unassailable against Mono Red. And, Sam went with a more risky play to line up a little bit faster clock and got punished for it pretty hard.
Yeah, and it's tough, because the hardest part about that kind of makes me really want to put it on the Darksteel is the flexibility to play Ghostfire Blade and Shadow Spear on the following turn. So Sam would have had the chance to kind of use mana really efficiently for the rest of the foreseeable future. And I mean, as soon as you get that Shadow Spear on the Ghostfire Blade, I don't mind setting up for a long game with that as my main plan.
Yeah, that was the big turning point in the game. I mean, Litfin obviously was fortunate to have double burn, but we'll see how it goes in the third and final game. This matchup's interesting. Sam has the tools, obviously, to win with, and he's got. Does he have the combo again?
Yeah, Shadow Spear, Darksteel, and Soul all hanging out in Sam's opener, and.
Okay, well, here's is that Hope of Gear for there?
There are 2 copies of Hope in Sam's deck, and it's a pretty powerful card against combo decks, especially if you can combine it with Emery, and you can kind of lock your opponent out forever. Sure. It's pretty nice too.
All right, so Hope on the table, and Robert Litfin going to play a Mountain and Pass.
Yeah, we'll see. Gut check moment for Sam. Do you play it into the open mana? Nope. Patience is key, and I think that's fine too. You have a Darksteel Citadel. I think I really do like putting the Ensoul there this turn.
Yeah, there's a Shadow Spear. And then Litfin has Robber the Rich. He has Stomp. He's got a ton of removal in hand. He just got to think about how he wants to play out the rest of the game.
And, one really nice thing about Hope of Gearper against the card Stomp, you have the ability to sacrifice it whenever you want to. Say your opponent, who, if they were dealt combat damage by Hope of Gearper, they can't cast non-creature spells.
Right.
Even if that doesn't really do anything by itself, it still counters the Bone Crusher Giant side of Stomp. And here we see Sam diversifying his threats, ensouling up that Darksteel Citadel, and Rob's kind of in a world of hurt. He doesn't really have the ability to race no creatures on the ground. 2 damage of burn. Doesn't do anything against the Shadow Spear. And
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know how Robert's going to get back in the game. It sounds.
I guess the Soul Scar made is actually big. Being able to shrink a Citadel can do some work. And I wonder if there is any extra burn in Rob's hand. And I wonder if holding Bone Crusher Giant might have been a bit better, considering that is like one of the few ways to actually combat the Citadel.
Yeah. I think just 4 lands in Sam's hand. So he's going to go ahead and equip that Shadow Spear and gain some life here against Robert. And Robert says, yep, sure. Huh.
Yeah, a pretty horrific flood from Sam's side. But, kind of the saving grace is that in a lot of ways he sort of assembled everything he needed. So in a lot of situations, I think everything we see on that Darksteel Citadel is exactly what you need to close the game, but
Omnisium Mortars was the pickup for Litfin there. There's another Scissors in Sam's hand, though. And I think that's probably just going to do it, though. Unless Litfin has some way that I just don't know how to get back in it, he's going to get mowed down by these guys.
Kind of looking at Rob's sideboard, we did see a decided absence of cards like a Braid.
Yeah.
You know, extra copies of things like Red Cat Melee, Mizzium Mortars. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely saying that you're willing to give up. In particular, I think this matchup.
See a Torban hit the battlefield there, and here's another Ensoul. And I think Rob's going to say, all right, man, you got me. All right, and yep, Sam Copperwick's going to move on to the top 8 here. He's going to be a 7-1, probably going to be on the play for most of the top 8 too. So, so that's pretty important, especially in this Is It in Soul deck. Robert Litfin comes up a little bit short, but the mono red aggro deck will look pretty good most of the day for him. Unfortunate, I think he actually was 6-0 and lost the last 2.
Yeah, pretty brutal to not be able to find a draw in those spots. But, you know, sometimes you just get the pair down, and then once you lose once, your fate's kind of out of your hands. So still a good tournament for Rob nonetheless. You know, still a solid amount of points from that. Yep. And, yeah, I think Red's looking sweet, even though they kind of had some tough games there. Yeah,
and one of the losses that he took, I believe, was to Caleb Spicer, who's in our backup match. He's playing that mono-white deck. I think you and I had watched a match, and Joe and I actually watched a match last round as well, where Robert got kind of blown out by Brave the Elements in one of the games, and also Unbreakable Formation in the third game. So we have Caleb Spicer in the backup match with that mono-white deck. He's playing against Boros Feather. I didn't get to watch that one. You guys did. Interested to see what that looks like, and it sounds like we're ready to roll for game number 1 of our backup match. And again, one of these players is going to make it to the top 8 as well, and I'm going to join Sam Kupperwitz. Is that 3 cards? Both of us are like, what? It looks like it. Okay, Mark Mulligan's to 3. There's a Dreadhorde Arcanist. Soldier of the Pantheon pretty good against Feather. And Boros Charm, 10th District Legionnaire. I see all these cards hanging out.
When your opponent mulligans to 3 in Pioneer, do you still assume they're playing Tron? Just like that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, wow, you have Tron? What is going on? So Mark Johnson going to... there's Titan Strength. Okay.
You know, not bad. Multiple scries off Arcanist and a big chunk of damage is reasonable. But I think Mark really wants to find is something like Defiant Strike. Being able to double down on that can be the first step in kind of recouping some of those cards. Yeah. And it's tough. Feather is very much a critical mass deck. You need creatures, you need lands, and pump spells for them, and being down this far kind of guts that possibility. Yeah,
I think Caleb actually has double Declaration Stone. So there's one. It's going to give Mark a clue here. I'll make sure that should happen. He should have a clue, yeah. So he's got a clue, and then he comes crashing in, and Caleb's obviously in a great spot. Mark on 3 cards, not the best. Another land.
You know, I think it's worth pointing out, you know, every time I've seen Deck and Stone cast on camera, it's looked pretty great today.
It has been good in this deck. I mean, wow, Benelish Marshall's next. Yeah, it definitely needs to be backed up by an aggressive clock, and Caleb certainly has an aggressive clock. You see Declaration Stone here for 1 and a white. It's a sorcery. Exile target creature and all other creatures with its controller controls with the same name as that creature. And that player investigates for each non-token. So that's the clue that gets made. And, I mean, Mark's in some trouble, though. He's got Boros Charm. I think he has Feather in hand, but just not going to be enough. Caleb just overpowers him in game 1 with, you know, he had more cards and you know, Mark had 1 removal spell. It's just not enough.
Yeah, I think that was a hand from Caleb on the white deck that probably could have beat most good 6s from Feather. So, you know, you kind of amplify the dominance by a lot in a game with a Molda 3. But we'll see if we can have some good sideboarding kind of level this out a little bit. And to kind of break down what each players have access to, talking about Caleb with white aggro, there are a lot of 1-ofs. 1 Deafening Silence, Damping Sphere, Fragmentize, Gideon Ally of Zendikar, and 1 Authority consoles, as well as some 2-ofs, Gideon's Intervention, 2 Glare of Heresy, 2 Fiendslayer Paladin, Rest in Peace is a 2-of, as well as 2 copies of Knight of Grace.
Yeah, Joe and I watched him play against like a mono red deck. He watched him play against Robert Liffin, and the Fiendslayer Paladin was good. I'm wondering if Fiendslayer Paladin is good enough in this matchup. I think the answer is yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's tough. A lot of the removal, you know, they lean on is going to be red. But they also just kind of, the creatures don't get blocked very well by the 2/2 first striker. They just kind of scale a bit outside of that. I think that Glare of Heresy seems reasonable. It can kill Feather and some of the cheaper creatures. Beyond that, maybe Knight of Grace can It's got a bit of a problem where it's like the first striking body is reasonable,
Yeah.
but it's just a bit small too.
Yeah, Glare of Heresy is an interesting one, as you mentioned. So the 3 feathers and the 4 10th Legionnaires, I mean, that's over half of his creature suite. There's only 2 more Dreadhorde Arcanists and 4 Monastery Swift Spears that it misses. I mean, that's pretty good. Glare of Heresy seems really nice here.
Yeah, I'll take it. And it's a cheap enough removal spell that it's not a huge blowout against God's Willing either,
Yeah.
right? You know, they might get you sometimes, but it's not like, Vrasa's Contempt where I invested my entire turn to tag it. And I think it might give Caleb a critical density of removal to pair with those Declaration in Stones.
Okay, so I'm taking a peek here at Mark's deck. He has 2 Apostle of Purifying Light. I'm not 100% sure on the text on that one.
It's a 2/1 pro-black 2-drop. They can exile cards from a graveyard. So probably mostly against Inverter is where I think that card's at its best.
Okay, so there's that. There's Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, Hazaret the Fervent, 2 Karizev's Expertise, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Swift Justice, 3 Wear Tear, and 2 Wild Slash. So he's got some tools going on here against this mono-white deck.
Yeah, love that Swift Justice tech. That one, here we see the Apostle that we talked about. A card that actually was featured pretty heavily in Ken Yukihiro's second place Black-White Auras deck.
Yep.
Really great thing to load up on. It's not exactly hexproof, but against certain decks it'll function there. But yeah, Swift Justice is a card I like to highlight. If you don't know it, understandable. It's a very random pump spell, but for a single white mana, you can give a creature an extra power, first strike, and lifelink until end of turn.
Yep.
And in a matchup that I suspect is going to be primarily about racing, or at the very least creature combat, that is both functionally a removal spell and a big chunk of life. And if you get it with Feather, your opponent just can't really attack much
Yeah, I
more.
agree. That one seems mega important. Wild Slash, you want this cheap removal against Caleb has 19 1-drops, I think, in his deck. Like, you need more Wild Slash or Shock effects in order to keep pace. Swift Justice, swinging the life total is a big one. And I think that Reckless Rage, obviously, is the one you really want to be jamming back and forth and hoping it's good enough.
Yeah, I think we're going to have Mark kind of try his best to assume the role of control deck in this matchup. And a lot of that is going to be centered around his ability to find stuff like Feather and Reckless Rage.
Sure. All right, well, we got game number 2 loaded up, so we're going to fire in there. And hopefully Mark's able to keep more than 3 cards here. He's got, looks like Favored Hoplite is the first card played. Against that Kythian? Yeah, man, Kythian. Haven't seen that in a while.
Yes, I like my Savannah's Lions with marginal upside, so Kythian's there. And here this is a fantastic start from Mark. Having access to double 1-drop and Gird for Battle being worth 3 permanent power and toughness. Really putting Caleb under the gun. And his deck does not play defense very well. Just many 2/1s, kind of only play one way.
All right, there's the Glare of Heresy you mentioned there, and that's going to exile, I think, the Favored Hoplite. That's a nice turn for Caleb. And, I mean, Mark's down to 3 cards, I think, already, actually, here. So, all right. That Defiant Strike there? I can't tell.
Yeah, that was Defiant Strike, and here we see...
There's Reckless Rage.
Yeah, Reckless Rage as well. So this is going to be a 4-point swing. Caleb down to 10 after 2 attacks, and not a ton else available for Mark, but I think there's at least one more removal spell hanging out in his hands. Yeah,
Mark's down to 2 cards here, so he needs to gas back up if possible. So he's loading back up, and wow. Yeah, and I mean, okay. And Caleb going to go ahead and block and use the Brave the Elements to protect his Atomic here. Must have something else hanging out. Huh.
Yeah, Brave the Elements, I think, doing mostly just a good impression of Fog there. Anything to buy a bit of extra time. And lots of 1-drops to unload from Caleb here as well. So he might have the strategy of, I'm just going to get in for a little bit of damage, chump block a thing away every turn, and just try and use my sheer quantity advantage in terms of creatures.
Sure. All right, there's 10th District Legionnaire, so now Caleb's forced to block. Again, I think if he's still at 9, he's in pretty good shape, actually.
Yeah, trading off a 1-drop with Legionnaire. I think going to 5 it's probably safe. There's not really any large chunk burn spells in Feather. We did talk about, some shock effects floating around too, but I think that if there's a shock, you're going to have a hard time maintaining the blockers that you need, so going a little bit low is fine, I think.
He's going to chump the Swiss Spear. Not going to take the time to get that Legionnaire off the battlefield. Wow, he drew another Thalia's Lieutenant. He's got Thalia's Lieutenant, he's got Benelish Marshal, he's got some tools here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Still kind of locked into 1 spell a turn is a little bit awkward for Caleb. His deck kind of, I think, really cares about his mana efficiency, and he's getting aggressive. That's an attack for 8 coming in.
Yeah, it comes in for 8. He has a he has Unbreakable Formation, I believe, in hand as well, which is really strong next turn. He gets to play on his main phase. And all right, I think that's actually going to be, is that 7 total? All right, so Mark going to get the W there with a shock off the top. And Caleb's aggressive attack did not quite pay off there. So, all right, man.
Wow. Yeah, really, really close game.
Yeah.
Without that shock, all of a sudden, Unbreakable Formation lets Caleb play offense and defense.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the margins were super small.
Yeah, very thin. Yeah, that was interesting. I think we kind of saw, though, how the games are going to play out. Mark's going to try and 1-for-1 Caleb a bunch. Caleb's going to try and stick the biggest creature possible and hope that that's good enough in the late game. Mark did run out of cards really quickly, trying to pump up and do a bunch of damage rather quickly. I don't know. I feel like Caleb, I obviously he's going to be on the play, which is a huge advantage in game number 3. I think I favor Caleb's plan here post-board, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, honestly, those Gird for battles, a little bit unimpressive when you didn't have 2 creatures to drop them on. The first one was great. The second 2, or the second and third, kind of mulligans in some ways.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see, hopefully for Mark's sake, those cards can be leveraged a little bit better. And why don't we swing it down for the third game here?
Sounds good, man. All right, so Soldier of the Pantheon for Caleb to start. Going to meet a shock, and Caleb's got Dauntless Bodyguard here. Looks like Monastery Swift Spear was the pickup there for Mark for the turn. He has Gird as well. Hoplite and Reckless Rage. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, really efficient turn. Caleb not having more than one thing to play, kind of rough. And here we see Gideon of the Trials. Primarily uses a card to fight Inverter combo.
Yeah.
No, just kind of a bit of an expensive removal spell at this point.
You see a Swift Spear hit the battlefield there. And there's a Gird here again. You got another, wow, Defiant Strike there too.
Yeah, wild sequence. So many cards coming out of Mark here. He's actually able to clean up the Gideon in a single attack.
Yeah.
And that makes that play from Caleb just look kind of awful. It's just more of a speed bump than anything.
Yeah. Mark is down to 3 cards. Another Reckless Rage off the top. I mean, that card is very, very good. And yeah, he's coming in hot here.
Yeah, it really does seem like this Feather deck is in a great position to just win the heads-up creature mirrors.
Yeah.
So much cheap removal, and Benelish Marshall, reasonable. Caleb's upgraded to a couple of 3/3s, but there's no clean way to interact with his favorite Hoplite if Mark has anything left.
He just lets it go, and there's 10th District Legionnaire. Got 2 lands there for Caleb, I think. One of them's LP.
Do you think it's more than LP if you write LP on it?
I don't know, man. I just read the cards as they come off. All right, so Mark on 5 lands. Let's see. He's got another one. Another Reckless Rage, 3rd Reckless Rage? Come on. All right, and Mark Johnson, Boros Feather deck on the back of triple Reckless Rage is going to run down Caleb Spicer, and Mark going to be 7-1 also, again, probably on the play for most of the tournament, most of the top 8, and that is going to be humongous advantage for his Feather deck in the top 8.
Yeah, we saw pretty interesting, a pair of aggro mirrors for win-ins. You know, those decks are ones that aren't getting a ton of the limelight in Pioneer right now. But, yeah, they're both, probably going to be the 1 and 2 seed and both in a great spot to continue doing well. I'd be curious to see how the rest of the top 8 shakes out, though, because, if Feather runs into a deck like Inverter, then all of a sudden your Reckless Rages aren't doing nearly as much. So kind of curious about how that matchup spread was.
Yeah, that was interesting. The Feather deck, that's the first time I got to watch it today. And, obviously looks great against creature decks, as you mentioned. Reckless Rage, just triple, just like plowing down the creatures and saying, all right, well, give me your best shot. And that's pretty good. That was pretty good. So KMC, we want to shout out them, one of our awesome sponsors here on the NRG series. So they got some really great products if you're looking for whether it's like perfect fit style things, any kind of sleeves for maybe board games or, Magic cards, whatever it is. Check them out. KMC Sleeves on Facebook. On Instagram at KMC.sleeves.usa. They also sponsor our CTQs, and if you want to have some CTQs in your local area, be sure to send us a message. Max@nerdragegaming.com. You can send Max all kinds of emails, actually, just to that address, whatever you want. Spam, it's great. You got memes, that's good.
Yeah. Emails through memes through email, I think,
Yeah.
is the highest form of art we have available.
That's good. Yeah, definitely. So if you want to check out one of our upcoming seeds queue, sorry, Max, by the way. I have to do this every event, though. I have to spam him with something. So February 29th, just in a couple short weeks, $1,000 down in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, playing Pioneer, OCM, MTG, and First Turn Games, hosting that one. And then about a week after our trial is March 28th. There's a $1,500 team constructed event in Des Moines, Iowa, hosted by OCM MTG. They put on some awesome events down there. They got tons of players, too, which is awesome.
Yeah, some of my favorite. I love First Turn Games as a store, OCM as a vendor. A lot of great buddies work there, a lot of great prices. And, yeah, I'm excited. Team Constructed, another opportunity to play Legacy. So be on the lookout for that. And if you're in the Iowa area, or even if it's a bit of a drive, I'd recommend trying your best to get there.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's see. So I did this with Joe last round also. The day overall, I kind of, midday I walked around and I was like, oh, man, there's so many Lotus Breach decks. It's like this is going to be just littered top 8 with Lotus Breach. And I don't know where it was, and the first 3 tables drew, and if anyone didn't catch that in the beginning of the round here, the top 3 tables drew. I'm not exactly sure what everyone is playing. We'll get you updates, obviously, as we get going. We got about like 5 minutes left in the round, so not too much longer before we figure out what archetypes. But as those started to come to the top, these aggressive decks were just destroying them. The mono red deck, I watched crush it several times. Mono white, I watched, and they kind of slid down. And now these more aggressive decks are kind of in the top tables. And there's a lot of that, a lot of Inverter. I'm interested to see what the top 8 shakes out like.
Yeah, the Pioneer metagame, it's really encouraging that it's this fluid.
Yeah.
If there are dominant decks, the combo decks look like they might be that. There appears to be counterplay, and ways to build your deck to both beat them or just strategic positions you can put yourself in just to try and race and kill on turn 4. And if that works, I think it's a sign of a healthy format.
Yeah, I agree. I asked Joe if he would still play the Breach deck if he had to redo it after knowing what we know today. He said yes. I would still play Inverter. What would you play?
I think I would play Inverter or Mono Red. I think that the more aggressive red lists look pretty good, and Inverter is just, I think, the most generically powerful deck in the format. But I don't think Joe's ever been known to be stubborn, right? So that can't be.
Never stubborn. All right, well, we're going to take a brief break here. We're going to get some paperwork done. We've got to get our top 8 updated. Be sure to follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. I know Max is tweeting up a storm about the all the deck lists that are coming up and when our top 8 will start. Again, that's twitter.com/NRG series. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. That way, you can check out nerdragegaming.com if you're looking for the deck lists here from today and tomorrow's event as well. Anything previously as well, if you're looking for historical purposes, whatever it is, you want to check out some of the old lists, check us out there. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. We're going to, again, get a top 8 ready, take some photos, and then we'll be back here in a little bit with our first quarterfinal match.